and productive. It's taking that away to satisfy all these stupid regulations. And Trump will get in and start clearing out all these regulations and keeping the regulations that keep people honest. That's what you need to do, because that's the weakness of capitalism, is greedy men.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have greedy men who are willing to cheat people, that's what hurts capitalism, and it hurts people like Bernie Madoff. You heard him?
Mm-hmm.
Bernie Madoff did the
Oh yeah, the pyramid scheme.
the pyramid scheme. He something like $30 billion he defrauded people on. $30 billion, one man. And that's a greedy man. That's a greedy, selfish person that was just looking out for himself. And that's what kills, it doesn't kill it, but it hinders capitalism, and it makes people think that capitalism is bad.
Mm-hmm. When
it's really not bad. It's really what makes people more wealthy, even at every level of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism makes every level better. It goes over to a very, very poor country. You set up a little factory there making clothes. People are starting to have money that they never had now. They're not making that. They might be making $10 a day.
Mm-hmm.
But to them, that's like us making $5,000 a day. They become rich by having a job and being able to go and buy things that they could bring into their, or even make money that they could start a little side business that would help this clothing factory do even better. They would start to be their supplier for certain things, or fix machines. So those companies start to grow because capitalism has come into a poor country and started the ball rolling, started sowing seeds of prosperity, and poor people starting to become more prosperous. But that's what capitalism does, and people don't look at that. They look at it and they say, "Oh, they're making $10 an hour. That's terrible. That's just really taking advantage of them." And it's not taking advantage of them. It's raising them up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not raising them up to like we are, but that's because we're in a different situation. To them, they are very prosperous when they make that little bit of money, and it helps them to grow, and it helps us to buy clothes that are less expensive,
Mm-hmm.
which means we have more money to buy other things, which then open up other opportunities for other people. So it's a self-perpetuating avalanche of that grows and grows if you continue to let it go without greedy people.
Mm-hmm.
The greedy people are what wreck it.
What about in like China and stuff?
Well, China saw what happened to Japan, and they saw what happened to Korea. What happened was Korea was very poor, extremely poor, and they said, "Okay, we're going to become capitalists, and so we're gonna start a little company that is going to make fly swatters."
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "We're going to make them more cheaply because we have a cheap workforce," and they did. And so they got the market for fly swatters.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was different. But now they've got some money, and now the people around them, somebody says, "Well, I think that I could make mousetraps cheaper." So he does. He goes and he starts a little factory and he makes mousetraps, and they're cheaper than anybody in the world could make. So now he starts making a lot of money selling mousetraps cheaper because he has a cheap labor force. And little companies start growing because more people are making money, their factories are being built, they have to, people who build factories make money, people who supply the factories with the material they need to make their product, wood products, metal, forming metal parts to make that little mousetrap, and to make the machines that make it faster. They all start to prosper, and so then they just get bigger and bigger. And right now, Korea makes some of the best automakers in the world are Korean. And it used to be the Japanese, but the Koreans decided, well, we're going to do this. And so they started making cars, and they're making cars better and cheaper than Japan is now. And China saw that, and they're a communist country.
Mm-hmm.
And communism hates capitalism. But they're sitting there looking at these countries. Taiwan, which is a little island which used to be a part of China, they're not communist in that little island of Taiwan, where my brother David's wife came from.
Mm-hmm.
And they started doing the same thing as Japan, and they became very prosperous. This little tiny island was more prosperous than the mass of China, with their billions of people.
Mm-hmm.
They were making more money than they were. And they're looking at that and they're saying, we got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
We're not making money. Our communistic way of doing things, in other words, trusting that people will work hard for the better good of everybody, it just doesn't happen. People are not like that. They say, I've got no incentive. I'm not working hard. The government's providing what I need, medical and whatever I need, so what do I care? So the Chinese said, well, we've got to do this. So they created a very unique situation where they're still communist, but they've allowed the capitalism to flourish.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden there's billionaires in a country that is communist, which is entirely opposite of what communists want. They don't want there to be billionaires. They want there to be everybody have equal amounts of money. But they saw that the people will prosper more if there's capitalism. You give people jobs and you give them incentives, an incentive to make money so that they can be prosperous, they can be wealthy, they can buy a beautiful home and cars and whatever they want. And that's happening, and China's growing massively.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a huge country with such incredible resources that it's just taken off, and they have become a world power, rivaling America very quickly by embracing capitalism,
Mm-hmm.
but still keeping the government and the control over the country in an authoritarian, communistic way. If there's something they don't like, they come and arrest people.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's saying, oh, you're cheating, the government's cheating, they're terrible, they just come and arrest them, put them in jail, you never hear from them again. That's what communists do. They don't like hearing anybody saying anything they don't against them. So, and that's what happens in their country. Their dissidents are killed or put in jail. But their economy is just growing, and the people, their standard of living is just blossomed under capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
And so a guy like Bernie Sanders comes in and says, socialism's really good, and people who, like Donald Trump, are people who have Bernie Sanders never had a job in his life, basically.
Mm-hmm.
He was 40 years old, he lived with his parents, never had a job. Bernie Sanders. And then he became mayor of his little town, just because he had the time to go and run for the office. And then that led him eventually to become one of the senators, because he kept on going up the ranks without ever having a job. So he thinks socialism is great because he's never seen what it takes, what capitalism looks like. He's never seen that, because he's always basically been a socialist, living off the government is basically what he's done his whole life. So when he talks, he thinks it's the answer to everything, and it's so naive. It's just such a naive way of looking at life. It's that people, young kids like it, because they don't know what it's like to start a business. So they think that, oh yeah, Bernie's right, we should all have free college education, and we should all have jobs, and we should all make good money, and because that's what Bernie's promising them.
Mm-hmm.
He has no idea how to get that done. He has no idea. He makes these promises, but he's got no substance to what he's saying. There's no way he can do that. And people say that all the time about him. He can't pay for all the things he's promising. So that's why he's so popular with the kids, and the kids just don't understand it. You sure you want to hear this stuff?
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay.
Like